Ladies and gentlemen, as the probe into the plane crash that killed Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar and 4 others progresses, more and more skeletons are tumbling out of the closet. Authorities are examining the black box, which will reveal the exact reasons for the crash and what happened in the last 26 minutes before the aircraft went down. But sources privy to Times Now are telling us that the entire final words transmitted from the cockpit are telling a very different story, one of panic and chaos. It's important to note that this was the aircraft's second landing attempt after the pilot had confirmed that the runway was visible. So what happened in those critical moments in the cockpit with the runway in sight? Equally alarming, there was no mayday call from the cockpit. According to sources, was there pressure to land is a question that they are investigating as far as that particular flight is concerned, particularly pressure to land the flight on time, as Ajit Pawar was known for his punctuality. Did this create a push or a rush, in fact, for the landing on schedule at the cost of safety? And was the Baramati airstrip even equipped to handle such a hasty landing? We'll decode this further with exclusive reports from the crash site. But first, let's take a closer look at VIP air travel and the pressures that it puts on flight operations. While it may seem seamless, behind the scenes, it comes with hidden risks. What exactly are these risks? Let's take a look at this. Now, when it comes to this particular charter is concerned, the charter flight is, of course, not just scheduled airlines. They are non-scheduled airlines, and therefore they travel at specific times as the passenger really wants them to. There's also the fact that VIP flights use regional or semi-prepared airfields. In fact, it's not just this. There are over 100 such uncontrolled airfields that exist across India. Smaller airfields have limited landing aids. In fact, in this case, there was no ATC with using the ATC of a local flying school. This is also, of course, the fact that there's greater reliance on visual flying. At least 5,000 is the kind of range required of visibility, 5,000 meters. In this case, we are told that landing happened with just 3,000 meters of visibility. Marginal weather, the tight schedules of VIPs, all of these factors carry a risk, including short notice bookings and, of course, rush to reach the destination on time. High tempo crew rotations also that take place in such situations also raise a number of risks as far as the travel is concerned. So this is some of the issues related to VIP air travel as far as private jets are concerned. Now, of course, when it comes to this particular case, we're also looking at other aspects which are very, very crucial. For instance, what happened inside the cockpit. Let's quickly take a look at what happened more. In fact, there's a larger question of what happened as far as VIP risk is concerned. Months before this particular plane crash, a parliamentary standing committee had warned of serious gaps in India's civil aviation safety framework, specifically highlighting risks linked to the fast-growing private and charter aircraft segment. The committee report chaired by Member of Parliament Deepak Mishra was tabled in Parliament in August last year. Let's take a look at what this report has warned about. The first is that non-scheduled aviation was growing faster. Warning number 2, let's quickly get those graphics up on the screen, that DGCA is facing severe manpower shortages. Warning number 3, regulatory capacity is not equal to the aviation expansion. Warning 4, maintenance oversight needs strengthening. Warning 5, safety management systems are poorly implemented. Warning 6, the pilot duty time and fatigue monitoring is very weak. Warning 7, operational control structures are inadequate. Warning 8, need for stronger autonomous regulator. Viewers, Times Now is on ground zero at the crash site, and we will now expose the 9 glaring lapses at the Baramati airstrip where Ajit Pawar lost his life. In this first exclusive report filed by correspondent Arunil Sadadekar, we'll show you how this runway has absolutely no markers on them. There is absolutely no question of any instrument landing system available either, nor are there navigational aids, which severely complicates any landing procedure. Watch this report.
This is that Baramati runway on which Ajit Pawar, the Deputy CM of Maharashtra, his chartered flight was supposed to land over here. Now, what exactly went wrong? We are here to basically study what exactly is an uncontrolled tabletop runway and what exactly may have gone wrong at the Baramati runway. You can see on the sides of this runway as well. My video journalist Anish Shinde is showing you these visuals. This is the starting point of the runway. On the side of the runway, there are no markers over here. No markers mean no instrument landing facility provided to the pilot in command. So the pilot in command who is landing at this runway has to depend on whatever he's seeing, that is his visual capability as well as his manual capability to land over here. No advanced navigation technology being provided to the pilot in command to land. Right now as well, you cannot see any kind of firefighting facility on this runway. No firefighting facility is being provided over here. No fire tenders are provided as well. We spoke to the locals, local villagers who had rushed to save the people who basically suffered the crash, including Ajit Pawar. What they also told us is that they provided water to extinguish the fire. No firefighting facility being present, it made it difficult for in the another loophole at this uncontrolled runway, tabletop runway, is that there is no professional ATC to manage it. It is basically managed by an aviation academy, an air training school academy, which was coordinating with the pilot in command. It has pilots over there, but it was not done in a professional manner.
In fact, we have a response from the Civil Aviation Minister Rammohn Naidu, who maintains that this airstrip had all the required facilities as mandated for flying training organizations, but also says that this was only an airport that was used by non-scheduled operators and not for commercial aviation. Listen in.
These are the airstrips which are being used for flying training organizations, and whatever is required for an FTO and that base, they have been there. And this is an airport which has been used by NSOPs, not commercial aviation. The things that you're saying, when we license it to become an airport for commercial aviation, there are certain requirements which we ensure that these facilities are there. But this has been used by NSOPs and especially for the flying training organizations. So whatever is required on that side has been there. And the airport for NSOPs has been used for quite some time also now.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's quickly introduce our guest now. With us is Deepak Reddy, national spokesperson of the TDP. We have Captain Surinder Singh, veteran IAF fighter pilot and ex-civil aviation pilot, also has been involved with the Indigo cadet programs. We have Captain Meenu Wadia, founder and president of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Sarosh Damania, aviation lawyer, is with us. Let me first and foremost begin with Deepak Reddy. Deepak Reddy, while Mr. Rammohn Naidu says that this is not a commercial airport, and he's right, but why can't we have the minimum basics as far as aviation security is concerned? There's no boundary wall. There are no markings on the runway. And today's day and age, we can have experts here on the panel who are telling us that, these kind of basic navigation facilities don't cost a whole lot of money. And all those factors could have perhaps helped save lives, including that of the Deputy Chief Minister and the other crew members.
When an accident like this happens, that's like going to be a stark reminder. Today, our minister and our MPs and our senior leaders, all of them were present to pay the last rites. And it's an absolutely shocking incident. And from the Telugudesam party, we all are really shocked. The minister has come on air and he's clearly said the issues, what actually happened. And when the flight was coming for the first land, the visibility was also bad. Yes, our aviation industry is growing much faster than the law is providing now. So I think an incident like this would get a total recheck at every aspect. And that's what the minister has assured. So this is a wake-up call. But if you see the major airports, we have one of the best facilities as far as the infrastructure is concerned. Yes, there is a small issue or an issue coming to security and safety. And that was something what definitely the government would be having a serious look on. And they would make sure proper action would be taken, that such kind of a disaster doesn't happen
Captain
again.
Meenu Wadia, the parliamentary committees have been talking about this for some time now, and I just read out the recommendations where it already is speaking about the entire regulatory environment, how it is completely, under pressure. You have these, private jets that are growing at a rapid pace, but the oversight is completely lacking. And it is not just this Baramati airport. I believe there are about 150 such airports where they have uncontrolled, quote-unquote, operations. Heaven forbid we see something like this happening at any other location across the country.
Well, as you say, the Parliamentary Committee has been talking about it recently. Well, I have been talking, the Federation of Indian Pilots have been talking for the last 50 years and asking the Prime Minister and every authority in this country to have an independent safety board. First and foremost, we do not have an independent safety board, which is absolutely essential. Why? First of all, ICAO, we follow ICAO standards, that is United Nations. ICAO Annexure 13 says very clearly, the aim of an investigation is to prevent an recurrence and not to apportion blame. However, in our country, exactly the opposite has been happening. We have no professionals who conduct inquiries. All the inquiries, in fact, if you see any of them, I can point fingers at the DGCA or even the airport authority. So first of all, you require the whole revamping of the whole office of the DGCA, which is full of only bureaucrats. I can give you any number of examples and give you evidence to show that they have, in fact, stopped aviation safety from improving. They have gone out of the way mainly to keep the power in their hands and not to let the power go into professionals who will improve aviation safety in this country.
Okay.
You want evidence? I'll give it to you.
Captain Surinder Singh, what is preventing this kind of modernization? Why can't we have a civil aviation authority? That's something that has been proposed, and professionals running aviation and its regulation. Because if things like this are going to happen, if this kind of Baramati airport situation arises, what are we talking about? We're talking about basic infrastructure that probably costs maybe a few lakhs to prevent and save lives from being lost, and aircraft which are extremely expensive from being lost.
See, from my personal experience, I have flown with a number of dignitaries at uncontrolled airports, and the pressure is enormous. It is good to discuss and find out the reasons and apport blame. Right now, everything is speculation. See, when you're flying in uncontrolled airspace where you don't have infrastructure and particular dignity on board, the pressure will be so much, which we have already discussed. And all this general aviation flying which takes place, it basically takes place at uncontrolled airport, and their number are far too many. So where all you will provide, and aviation is still, actually speaking, general aviation still is in the nascent stage. So I really don't think it is possible to have all the infrastructure at all the airport. See, the flying in airlines are different. Airline you fly where you have ILS to ILS flying, everything is controlled. Actually, your environment is controlled. Here, the pilot visibility reported is 3,000 meters. Again, there is no meteorology department. And trust me, it is not possible to provide all the facility at all this uncontrolled airspace, or rather in this aerodromes.
Is it not possible?
Even if
Saroj
Dabania,
answer that. It's not possible to provide all the facility at all of these airports. But is it possible to provide some basic navigational aids? Is that something that is too much to ask for the world's third largest aviation market?
No, basic safety aspect should be there. I feel if there is no basic safety at an airport, that airport should be shut down. We have seen your reporter reporting from the airport, not even the road runway marking lines are clear. So it is a very pathetic situation that airport, and of course that is the Baramati airport, is in one of the biggest MIDC sectors, which is a very big industrial area. So we believe, at least such a big area should have a proper airport, and the ministry is just trying to run away by saying it is a small airport, uncontrolled airport. If it was a small airport, if it was uncontrolled airport, you should not permit VIP flights or not permit any flights. They are saying it is for flight training organization. What about safety of the students who are flying aircraft, who don't even know to fly properly? They are learning how to fly, and they are made to fly at such pathetic condition airports. I'm very sorry, the extremely sorry states of affair, and the ministry, DGCA have to take responsibility. These smaller aircrafts are on these airports are controlled by the government. These airports are not under private operators, but under the Airport Authority India or state authorities. So the state, when you're running an airport, basic infrastructure, basic safety, basic fire tender, basic ambulance facility, basic minimum requirement of safety facilities have to be there. So what we saw just over there was completely shocking, and we lost one of the most celebrated political figures in Maharashtra because of lapse of safety at the airport.
What will happen, and let me bring in Captain Minu Wadia on this. You can come in also, Deepak Reddy, in a bit. But Captain Wadia, we have seen many people come out and say it's not a centrally, administered airport. It is under the aegis of the state civil aviation authority, and therefore the center did not have a role. But the point I would like to draw everyone's attention to is this, that ultimately, whether it is pilot licenses, whether it is aircraft, whether it is airports, without a license from the center, none of these can function. So where is the oversight in such a situation?
No, let me clarify some of the points, and some of the people answered earlier also. As Captain Singh mentioned earlier, when you land at these places, and it is perfectly normal to have an airfield without navigational aids available, because these are not meant for commercial flights, they are meant for training only. However, they should have the minimum issues. For example, fire tenders, ambulances, safety equipment has to be there. And just for the knowledge of everyone concerned, one of the safest places in the world with the best record is Australia. In Australia, at Melbourne Airport, I have landed a jumbo in a secondary airfield, which is not a normal airfield for normal flights, for maintenance purposes. I've landed a jumbo on that way without any facilities of the air traffic controller. So only if you specially ask for it, then the air traffic controller comes. So it is nothing unusual, like in Baramati, to have this airport running without air traffic control. But safety issues, for example, as I said, the fire tenders must be there. So the airport authority cannot man all these small airfields, which are almost deserted in our country. There are small places like Kadapa, Baleri, these places which have been abandoned airfields. You can't have ATC controllers at all these airfields.
Okay, you can't have ATC controllers at all these airfields, but Deepak Reddy, basic safety not being provided. Forget runway markings, forget sort of fire tenders or ambulances. There's not even a boundary wall.
Madhav, let me tell you, in Tasmania and in few other remote places in the world, I've landed on similar, airstrips. I mean, the traffic is not much, and these are like basic facilities. Yes, the minister has immediately come on air, and he said we have ordered an investigation, and every aspect would be reviewed, is what the minister has announced. So, So we're not running away from what has happened. And yes, this is a wake-up call. And accordingly, the steps would be taken. The black box is now recovered. The flight data is taken. And the maintenance records all have been taken. So why this has happened, a thorough investigation would be done. And yes, there is a need for further improvement, because our market is growing a lot faster than the safety is catching up. And accordingly, action would be taken. And
so what are we going to do about it? That's the point we want to make over here. Are we going to modernize our regulator? Are we going to improve our infrastructure? How are we going to do it, and how quickly? Because if we are growing at the pace that we are, whether it's commercial airlines, whether it's private airlines and such charter aircraft, what is it that we are going to do to address the issue at hand? We cannot have such crashes, surely.
Madhav, definitely we cannot afford another accident like this. And the government is looking at it with absolute seriousness. And the minister said no stone would be left unturned. And we can definitely expect new rules coming in shortly.
Right. Captain Surinder Singh, you mentioned one interesting thing about there being pressure. Now, there are sources are indicating that they are going to look into the aspect about whether the pilot was pressured. Perhaps the cockpit voice recorder will give us more details. But just going purely by the information before us, if landings at such airports are supposed to have a visibility of over 5,000 meters, and this landing has happened with a visibility of just 3,000 meters, what does this really tell us about the enforcement of basic standards?
See, in any sane person, if you say the visibility requirement is 5,000 meter, in this case, visibility reported was 3,000 meter. Now the first question will be why the pilot attempted. By my personal experience, I have flown with SPG protectees, I have flown with a lot of dignities where actually the pressure comes where the crew wants to land. And that's why if you heard that whatever that is available in the media, it is on the discretion. And I think it was a fair attempt to try, and which normally happens maybe most of the time, people get away with this. It is not getting away in as such when I am talking about it. It happens normally. You may not get the classical, whatever the weather condition you require. So the pressure is that it is that you have to land. First time you tried, second time again tried. And all the while, one has to understand it is nobody is putting a pressure that you have to land. Pilot as a crew, we ourselves put us under pressure to land. And many times we do it also. And which is very normal. Like I said, this was very unfortunate case where this thing happened. So this pressure is, nobody is telling you, but the job requirement is totally different. And like earlier I said, in airline flying is totally different. It is a total controlled environment. Somebody is taking decision for you. Somebody will tell you go, somebody will tell you not to go. You have everybody, whether you have a Met department, you have a ATC, somebody controlling you. But when you talk about in this case, the whole and sole responsible person is the PIC, the pilot in command who is sitting there. So yes, we are human beings. We all take decisions, sometimes good, sometimes not very good. So as such, yes, infrastructure should require, but yes, we are in very nascent stage till we reach that stage.
So certainly nobody is going to second guess what has transpired in this particular case, whether it's a technical error, whether there is some human error factor also in this, whether there are visibility issues. All of this, perhaps it's only going to come clear once the investigation happens. But that's the whole point. Sarosh Damania, we have seen in the case of this very same operator, the report of September 2023, the final report is not out more than 2 years later. So what kind of a regulatory environment are we talking about here? And how are we going to learn if the reports don't come on time? A point that was made by one of the earlier panels.
No, the accident investigations in India are very slow. Actually, they are supposed to meet international standards of ICAO, which says that within 6 months you need to have a preliminary report. Subsequently, you need to have a final report. But here, timelines are not followed. The protocols, international protocols do not be followed. There are bureaucrats who are running the show of the investigation. Investigation reports are not out. Evidences are tampered with. Things are played off. In the end, it is just put as a pilot error just to claim insurances. So I think the investigation in our country needs a much more degree of seriousness and much more degree of accountability. There has to be a special unit set up who is going to only do investigations and come out with solutions that in future incidents such as these don't occur. Every time there is a crash, we are discussing it. Ministry will come out with statements saying we are going to take it utmost seriously. No stones will be left unturned. We are going to do this. We are going to do that. But in the end, after 2 months, 3 months time, you look behind, nothing has been done. Just look at the Air India investigation. It's not yet out. It's such a big major crash. Still the final report is awaited. So in India, the timelines need to be followed rigorously. The government has to come down heavily. Bureaucracy has to come after safety. Safety has to be given a priority. If we don't prioritize safety, crashes like this will keep on happening every year. And every year we'll be talking about very sad states of affairs about the safety condition in the aviation market, especially general aviation requires much higher degree of safety because they fly at such airports which are not totally equipped. So we need better safety over there.
I don't think there can be any compromise on the word safety. And in fact, Deepak Reddy, that's something that the government has to very seriously look at. Safety cannot have a chalta hai attitude. And this point of reports coming in delayed, this is something that is just not acceptable. If there are ICAO standards that report has to come within a year, then it has to come within a year. There can't be excuses. Even as far as the Kozhikode and Mangalore crash is concerned, there were delays. 2 years as far as the other Learjet that is operated by the same operator. Why is the report still not out?
Madhav, it's really wonderful that you're going into such details and facts, unlike the debates yesterday, which started politicizing this issue. I can assure you one thing. the lives of our senior leaders is at stake here. So, and this is like a wake-up call. And the minister has come on air not once, multiple times, and made his views very clear. I think there would be substantial changes after this, and we should all be very optimistic on that, the way the minister has assured the country.
Are you assured at the moment, Captain Meenu Wadia, are you assured by this kind of assurance? Because he refers to top ministers, but if this is the state of safety of top ministers, I shudder to think what is the state of the Aam Aadmi in this country.
No, not at all. I'm not satisfied at all. First of all, what everyone made a reference to in passing, that safety has to be improved and you must have right people. Let me be specific and very clear as to exactly what is required. See, all accidents are investigated not by judges or by bureaucrats, but by people who are trained in accident analysis. All over the world, the better places in the world where the accident record is much better, you have only accident investigators who are trained in this profession and investigate not only the accidents, but also the incidents. Now, let me tell you, in this country, there are hardly any accident analysis specialists available. When I brought this up to the DGCA and to the ministry, they took it very lightly. Thereafter, at ICAO, at the United Nations, I've arranged for a team to come from ICAO to train Indian aviators in the art of special accident investigation. Can you imagine? The DGCA, in fact, obstructed and did not allow a single pilot or single aviator to attend the course. Only the bureaucrats sitting in DGCA office attended the course, which made a total mockery of the thing. And I looked like a fool arranging from United Nations for people to come and train our people over here. So the DGCA is a hurdle to aviation safety in our country. And the whole office of the DGCA needs to be revamped, and you must have an independent safety board of specialists who are trained in accident analysis.
Right. And in fact, let me put this question across to Captain Surinder Singh. There are petitions which are challenging the AAIB investigation. All of this is before the Supreme Court. I'm not second guessing what the Supreme Court is going to do, but this raises serious questions about the quality of probes that we have in our country. Adding to what Captain Wadia said.
No, I agree with yes, I agree with him fully that we are way behind where the Western world and the developed country are gone. There is no doubt in that. But my question here comes, it is everything, why it has to happen after any incident or accident? Why we can't have mitigating factors and how this thing happened? That is my first question is, see, any regulator can make a rule. They can give you regulations, they can make whatever circulars, but eventually, when it comes to, like I said, this is not a normal case when you talk about this general aviation and the corporate flying. It is, in my opinion, it's a little different. A regulator can say that, okay, I'm talking about before the accident. I'm not telling you after the accident. Yes, 100% I endorse the view raised by my colleagues, which are absolutely right, that somewhere we are way behind with the Western world. But my question is that regulator role is particularly before the accident to make a rule and regulations. But now to follow it, to implement it, that again comes to the field.
All right.
And that is
we'll have to wrap up this discussion, but this is certainly not going to end our reportage as far as the tragic incident that has taken place in Baramati and the need for a strong safety environment from the regulator to the airlines to the airfields. All of it has to be completely safe for passengers to fly. Be they be ministers, deputy chief ministers, or the Aam Aadmi, there is absolutely, a need for us to relook at the safety infrastructure and the provisions that have been put in place. Deepak Reddy will continue with us, but I'd like to thank Captain Surinder Singh, Captain Meenu Wadia, and Saroj Tabania for joining us on this debate.